Now we are going to discuss about the chapter laws of motion. So in earlier classes we discussed about force. Force is nothing but a pull or a push of an object. A force can change the speed of an object, or it may change the direction of the motion, or a force may change the shape and size of the object. So we know that rest and motion are the relative concepts. In olden days, the science is not for the development. Scientists predicts that different attitudes, what is the actual state or fundamental state of an object. Some scientists predict that rest is the fundamental state of an object, and some scientists predict that motion is the fundamental state of an object. So, scientists like or philosophers like Aristotle says that rest is the fundamental state of object. But Galileo, the scientist who comes forward such that motion is the fundamental state of an object, and he done some experiments to prove his prediction. Galileo came to conclusion which is a contrast to Aristotle, in which Aristotle says that rest is the fundamental state of object. Now Galileo done some experiment to predict or to prove that motion is the fundamental state of an object. He prepared two inclined planes like this. This is one inclined plane and this is one inclined plane. He released a marble from this particular height. This marble moves down the inclined plane with increased velocity due to the gravitational force, and after that it moves up in the inclined plane with reducing speed. To reach the initial height on the second inclined plane, he observed the distance traveled to reach the same initial height on the second inclined plane. After that, he reduced the slope of the second inclined plane and release from the same initial height. So in second case, this is the slope which is reduced. So marble is released from this place, and to reach the initial height on the second plane, it travels further distances or longer distance compared to the first one. And further he reduced the slope, and he noticed that the marble will take or will move further distances to reach the same height. Then he had a question: what happens when the marble moves from inclined plane and the inclined plane has no slope? That means if the object moves from a particular height and the second region there is no slope, he predicts that the object moves indefinitely. That means it is continue to motion. It is continuing motion until an external force acts on it. So from these experiments, Galileo concluded that the initial state of an object is nothing but uniform motion, which is contrast to the Galileo. So after that, Sir Isaac Newton proposed his three laws of motion, which he established a connection between the force and a change in motion of an object. These laws are popularly known as Newton's laws of motion. Now we are going to discuss about the three laws of motion which are proposed by Sir Isaac Newton. So first law of motion. So according to Newton's first law, every object will remains at rest or in a state of uniform motion until an external force acts on it. That means every body resists to change its state. Either it is in rest, it is to be in continuity in rest. If it is in uniform motion, it is try to be in uniform motion until an external force acts on it. That means if there is no external force on it, then there is no change in its state of rest or state of uniform motion. That is the statement of Newton's first law of motion. So Newton's first law of motion explains what happens if there is no external force acts on an object. Two rectangular wooden blocks of different masses. We have to push the two blocks with the same force at a time. If you observe, the wooden blocks which has less mass have moved farther distances compared to the wooden blocks which has more mass. From this we conclude that the objects which have more mass has more tendency to oppose the change in state. That is called as inertia. That means the objects which have more mass have more inertia. So from this we conclude that mass is the measure of inertia. The objects which have more mass have more inertia, and the objects which have less mass have less inertia.